Hello, my name is Vanya Maulidia Azizah, and today I'm going to answer the 3 questions from the statistic lesson. For the first question is talk about the difference between the positive correlation and negative correlation. In a negative correlation, the variables move in inverse or the opposite direction. So as the one variable decreases, another variable will be increased and reversely. For example, let me say about the self-esteem and depression. The higher self-esteem, the less depression is. And then the perfect number of negative correlation is -1. So if it is in a diagram, the diagram will be like this. Because if the variable x increase, the variable y will be decreased. And next, the positive correlation. In positive correlation, the variable move in the same direction. So when the variable increase, another variable will also increase. And if it is decreased, another variable will also decrease. The perfect number of positive correlation is 1. So when it is in diagram, there will be like this. Because when the variable x increase, the variable y will be also increased. For example, let me say about the number of people who suffer from depression and the number of people who suicide. If there are bigger number of people who suffer from depression, of course there will also a bigger number of suicide, like that. Then for the second question, what does it mean by the correlation is not causative? The correlation is not causative means that just because two variables or two things having correlation, it doesn't mean that another causes the others. For example, I really love chocolate and I become fat. Imagine that the chocolate is variable x and fat is variable y. The variable x is not causative with variable y because there are a lot of things or a lot of variables that causing the variable y. For another example, let's imagine in Korea, there are many people who really like to spend more time in the market when winter, in the cold weather, but it doesn't mean that the cold weather having causative with the number of people who really like to spend more time in winter. Even the people spend more time in the winter in the market having correlation with the cold weather, but it doesn't mean that it has causative, because the real reason is because there is Christmas and New Year's. That is. So I really like to say that the correlation is not causative. It's like the love triangle. Sorry. I mean that I love him, but it doesn't mean that he loves me, because he can love another variable or another aspect. Then the last question is the difference between p-value 0.01 and 0.05. But before we talk about it, let me know about the p-value itself. P-value is the probability to measure how much evidence against the null hypothesis. So when the p-value is less than 0.05 and 0.01, the null hypothesis is rejected. And then if the p-value is greater than 0.05 or 0.01, the null hypothesis is accepted. And the big difference of 0.01 and 0.05 is on the degree of beliefness atau derajat kepercayaan. Jadi tergantung sama si researchernya. Dia mau membuat conducting research yang lebih akurat atau kredibel dengan menggunakan 0,01 pada p-value-nya atau menggunakan 0,05 yang normally used. Dan 0,05 ini sudah menjadi sebuah patokan atau kayak prinsipalnya di dalam seorang statistical menguraikan p-value itu sendiri. Jadi logikanya, jika menggunakan 0,01, maka research yang kita conduct itu 99% 9% akurat, dan sedangkan kalau menggunakan 0,05 research yang kita conduct itu 95% akurat, and this is enough. For example, in 0.01, when we conduct the research like a blood type between A and B, or we conduct a research from the literature healthy between the number of hyperglycemia, like that, we prefer to use the 0.01 to make the research more accurate. And for the 0.05, for example, is like when we conduct the research like the correlation between reading habit and speaking fluency, like that. So that's all. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.